I want to thank the members of the subcommittee for having invited me here this afternoon. It's a pleasure always to meet with one of your Friday afternoon beer and pretzel seminars. And I was last year, 3 years ago, you recall. And what I'm here today to talk to you about is the preliminary results of something of the attempt of my subcommittee and laboratory group to rationalize the results of the various phenomena that have been observed in all of our activities under our purview, and to try to do something with those figures, those results, phenomena, to analyze them, so to speak. Well, what I want to say is this. I want to describe to you the message that we used in classifying the phenomena. The first thing that we did, I was working with some of our graduate students and a couple of colleagues as well. One of the first things that we did was to classify, try to find out those clearly primary phenomena, try to give them some status. And when we did that, we established a category, a first category in which primary phenomena would go, and we called that first category category number 1. Having established that category, we immediately, of course, sought out those things that would occupy it, and it was a very quick matter to see that there was only really one very outstanding, grossly observable phenomenon that was the primary phenomenon of everything that we have been doing. And so we placed that in category number 1 and closed it immediately, nothing else to go in that one. Well, the second category we set up, we after some discussion, called category number 2. It was established for those things that would probably, under most circumstances, be primary, but because of the overwhelming preponderance of the single primary phenomenon, there was no question that all these things, major as they might be, had to be classified as secondary. Consequently, we gathered together quite a large group of this type of material. Some things were still lesser than that, a lot of things, in fact. So we got together quite a number of phenomena, and we put them into that second category as phenomena of secondary importance. Well, after that, of course, we had our third category, which was going to contain the bulk of what was left, but not an enormous, not the bulk of everything. But so we set up this third category, and it was at this time, again, after some discussion, quite a bit of it, in fact, we decided to call the third category category number 4. This was insisted upon by some of the graduate students who felt that we did not have enough poetry in our work. And so we had these 3 categories, 1, 2, and 4. And into this fourth one, we put all those tertiary things that we had observed in our general observations. And of course, we had already disposed of primary phenomenon and a great number of secondary ones. So there wasn't that much to look for and look through. This time it was a bit easier. And so when we got it through, we had quite a large number, and we put them all in the third category, which is category number 4. And we then went on to establish a final category that would cover all the remaining phenomena, whatever they might be. Our first impression is that there were fewer of these than of any else, but after a while we found we had a tremendous number of them. In fact, when we got that category fully opened, category 5, and all these things considered and classified into it, had become such a huge category that it in itself, in a sort of inverse democracy, had become of almost a collective primary importance, whereas the students were quite upset with this. So what they wanted to do, again, there was complaints about a lack of symmetry in our approach, a total lack of balance in the equation and so on, and the equalization and so on. They tried to talk about this so much so that my head began to ache, you must understand. Finally, I said, well, what do you want to do? And they said, that category, number 5, is too big. There is too many things in it. Said, look at category number 1. Big deal, 1 important, but look, all alone. So what they did then is to take the large number of things from category 4 and put them over in category 1 to keep him company, so to speak. And so that quite brought that up to very near what the balance was between him and number 5. But by then there were complaints about number 4 not being as big as number 1, and what were they going to do? So they borrowed from 1, put it in 4, then they borrowed from 4, put it into 2, and even rated 5 a bit for 2. Finally, they take from 1 to 4, 1 to 5, 5 to 2 back that way over in so many different ways. Finally, the thing that I think I'm happy to report as of major consequence and the most outstanding development was that when we were finished, we found that what we had established was a completely random order, one that we know duplicates the order of nature. Thank you, and now we have the lantern slides.